welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica, if you haven't seen me before. I am from Green Fever SA over on Instagram. In today's video, I am doing something very different from what I normally do. I have been overseas and I was away. When I came back, I had to sort out all my plants, do everything I needed to do for my plants because I was away for just over 2 weeks. I was very sick when I came back. I am still a little bit sick. So what I did is I just did everything that I needed to do in like a time lapse. I videoed all of it. Now that I'm feeling a little bit better, not coughing and sniffing every 2 seconds, I am going to do a voiceover about what I was doing. I really wanted to show you guys how I left my plants for 2 weeks. We did have someone looking after our house, but they're not a plant person, especially not to the extent of the amount of plants that I have. You know, when you have 100 plants plus minus, it's quite tricky for someone else to look after. So I want to show you how I made it as easy as possible for them. Then obviously, because this is the video after once I've already come back, you will see if it worked or if it didn't, and I will talk a little bit about whether I would change anything or not.
The first thing I did when I got back home was go through all of my plants in LECA that live around the house. Before I left, I purchased these plastic food platter lids that I used as the water reservoir, and I collected the plants that are all in LECA from around the house and I placed them in these lids on the table in my office, which is also my plant room. I asked our friend that was looking after our kitties and the house if he could just check the water levels and top it up as needed. I think it worked really well, as there was no casualties and there was very few yellow leaves. I then popped all of the plants into the bathtub and rinsed them down, flushed the LECA, cleaned the leaves, took any of the dust off, and just sort of gave them all a good check. There was the odd leaf or two that was yellow, and the vine on my Monstera Peru, which I was actually propagating, which didn't really look too good, but honestly I was very happy with the way that this method turned out in the end. It was really easy and straightforward for our house sitter, and I really didn't want plants to be too much of a mission for him and a big job. I then mixed up some neem oil and some dishwashing liquid in a spray bottle to do a little bit of pest prevention. Even though I didn't see any pests, you never know. And while all of them were in the bath and rinsed off, I just thought it was the perfect time to give them a quick spray. To make the house sitter's job even easier, I actually filled a 5-litre bottles with water, just plain water, and I left them right next to these plants so that he could literally just grab one and top it up when he needed to, without having to sort of fetch a watering can or anything like that to make his life more difficult. But before I left, I had actually flushed all these plants and filled the platter lids with the nutrient water. These plants wouldn't need any for 2 weeks, and it all worked out pretty well. Then I went to mix up some nutrient water so that I could give these guys some. I usually mix it in the 7-litre pressure sprayer, which I absolutely love. It makes watering the plants around the house so much easier, as well as the plants in my cabinet. What I did now was I finally put all of these guys back into their pots. I filled up their reservoirs. I did give them all another quick sort of look over if I could see their roots. I had a quick look over the leaves, and I sprayed down all the moss poles as well. These two Andersonias, I wanted to pot them up together, and I'd wanted to do this for quite a while, so I just thought now seemed sort of like the best time to do it. The smaller one, which is actually my sister's, did have a lot of root rot, which I think I'd actually done before I left. I know that I had let the reservoir dry out completely a few times, so I just cut off all of the root rot, which was quite a lot, and yeah, I planted them up together. Then it's actually my sister's plant, so I've just decided that I am going to separate them again when it's time to give it back to her, when she's got a bigger place and she can fit all her plants again. But I'll either just separate it or take a few cuttings for myself and give her the pot, but either way it doesn't matter. For now the plant is safer potted up together. This whole process, I won't lie, took quite a while, and I was pretty sick at the time, so it did seem like a massive mission considering, but I think it was the best thing to do for my plants. It really was worth it, and it was a great way to make sure that my plants would all be happy while I was gone. I then left all of the plants here overnight because I was too lazy, so I left those till the next day, and I did check my cabinet. I really didn't do much here. other than check on everything and give some nutrient water to the few that needed it. Most of them were in plastic or glass containers, so I drew a line on the container so that the house-sitter knew just sort of where to fill it up to, and I just asked him to check it and fill it as needed. I did fill up the pressure sprayer so that it was handy for him whenever he needed to use it. Some of the plants are in moss, and there is one which is the forgetii, which is in soil, and I actually did a video showing him how to check these and water these few plants. Then the next morning I went and put all the plants around the house back in their spots while I actually caught up on some YouTube plant videos. I also had a few plants around the house that I left. Most of them were in soil. It was like my big monstera, this fiddle-leaf fig, things that I really knew didn't need watering for 2 weeks. Those I left. I did notice though that they had actually been watered, so I left them all. I usually bottom water, so I think he just threw some of his leaves off after being top watered. I also wanted to check my cabinet again, as I had noticed my Antheria magnificum cross regal really wasn't looking happy at all. I assumed that it had had some root rot, and I did look through it through the glass, and it really looked like it had. Once I unpotted it, I noticed that there was actually a load of new roots growing, and the rotted ones were almost completely gone. So it was very confusing, considering that it would have probably have taken longer than 2 weeks for this whole situation to happen. So it must have been an issue before I left. I was also very worried that the chunk might be rotted, as this chunk had been cut in half down the middle when I purchased it. So I completely loosened all the roots to check, and thankfully this was perfect. There was no problem with that. I also wanted to pot it up into a plastic container with air holes, as I thought that it might have sort of been the issue, but I actually didn't have a pot that was the right size, and I wasn't going out to go get one, as I still had quite a lot to do. So I just kind of put it back where it was, just hoped for the best. I did have a new leaf that was coming through, so I am hoping that whatever the problem was with this plant, it sort of sorted itself out and it is coming right now. I also wanted to clean out this clarinervium and variegated syngonium, as their pots had quite a lot of algae build up on them. And then the last thing I did and checked was the plants in our bedroom. I had done the same setup for the ones in LECA as I had for the plants in our plant room. The Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, this had quite a big reservoir, and it usually normally lasts 2 weeks with the amount of water I can fit in there. So I left that one and said he didn't have to do anything with that. But some of the plants were in soil, and I've also got this moss ball, and those were all Hoyas, so I knew that they would be fine for 2 weeks as well. So I just bottom watered them while I did the same process as I did with all the other LECA plants. I sprayed them off, cleaned them, rinsed them, put everything back, topped it up water reservoir, and I was done with all the plants from around my house.
I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please do consider giving it a like, or consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this, or not quite like this, but more planty content. I hope to see you guys in the next video. If there's anything that you would like to see me do or like me to try, then let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely give it a bash if I can. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys.